Welcome to the But She's Your Mother podcast, where we talk about all things related to being raised by narcissistic parents. Our guests are adult survivors of child abuse. Please note that this podcast is intended for mature audiences and may feature topics such as emotional, physical, and sexual abuse, domestic violence, self-harm, suicide, murder, and eating disorders. Opinions expressed by guests and survivors are their own. Some names may be changed or blocked out to protect minors, victims, and survivors. Thank you for listening to But She's Your Mother, the podcast.
Realize like the kids that grow up in a normal home and go off to college and their mom calls and say, hey, how was the test Friday? They live a completely different life than those of us that are trying to get through school. Like they're years ahead of us. They're years ahead of us.
Yeah.
In terms of success or and growth and things like that,
Yeah. I mean, I always say we have other superpowers that they don't have, right? We develop
Yeah.
a superpower of resilience, adaptability, and it's unfortunate that we had to develop those, but at least we can take some of those coping mechanisms that we learned early on, and instead of using them against ourselves, we use them to our benefit, right? And part of that to our benefit is being able to walk away and is being able to build a life. If it weren't for the fact that we built that within ourselves, I don't say that that happened. We chose that, right? We chose to take what we learned and turn it into something good. Even speaking out and sharing our experiences to take a horrific start in life and have something good come out of it is very empowering, right?
Yes.
I
have a question for you, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
knowing I was so motherly and loving toward my sisters all those years, and a lot of people in the town know, and they seen all the stuff I bought and paid for, and it's not just about that, it's about supporting. So like for many years I would write, my mom never has money for Christmas ever. She hasn't in years. She never, every time Christmas rolls around, she has no money. So I would I'd buy my sisters all the gifts and write love mom. So they didn't have to wonder if she loved them like I did, because I didn't have presents from my mom hardly at all. When my stepdad was around, life was a lot better, but he traveled and was in Thief River a lot. So those were not good weeks for us. And then when they got divorced, things got really bad, or they were broke up, or they were on and off occasionally, but it was a tumultuous time for all of us during that time. But I just wonder, I guess my question is, knowing like all those things that I've done for my family, like for many times, let's all get together and I'll pay for all the hotel rooms, all the water park passes, all the meals, all the drinks. Of course, my mom's ordering $15 margaritas because she knows I'm paying, and she lives in low income housing. So she's never probably going to ever get out of that and have money. But I was happy to do it. I've never once to the second have asked for any money back from my mom or my sisters. I've never asked them to pay for anything for my own stuff or my own kids. It was the most unbalanced relationship ever. So when a lot of them left me, it was a total gift, honestly. But why do they do that? Like they had it so made with me. The relationship, I put in way more than they ever got back. They've never bought my kids basketball shoes and prom dresses and watches and Nike socks and all that stuff. I mean, I literally was like the bank. I paid for all of it for years and years and years, and they've never paid for anything for me, none of them. So why am I the villain after all the good I did?
Well, because you took that away from them.
That's probably true, actually.
Because you took that away from them, and they weren't raised to be grateful for a person's generosity. Generosity in particular. They were raised to expect it from you, because you did take up the slack and you did show up that way, because that's how you were trained to function in your family system. And so of course you became, you know, persona non grata, non grata, non grata, non gratis. You became persona non gratis because of the fact that, you know, you took that away from them, and now you're a threat to exposing all the dirty little secrets of the family. And on top of that, you're living your best life, and they're still stuck in theirs because they don't choose to do anything better for themselves. It's a lot easier to blame the one person than it is to take responsibility and change your life.
Yeah. That makes sense. That makes sense. As I've always wondered that, of like, all I've done for you guys, and I don't bring it up or throw it in anyone's head, because I hate that if someone does something for you and then they like hang it over your head. So I've never asked for, I've never asked for any of the money back or anything.
You were trying to take care of them and to have family.
Yeah.
Right.
I was happy. Honestly, I was in the position to do it. I think in those years, especially, if God gives you more, you should give back more. What I didn't realize is I still think that's true. If God gives you more, you should give back more. But I think be careful who the people you give it to. You want to give it to the people that are going to be in your life forever. They're not just going to cut you off the second you make one mistake. The people that are not loving you with conditions. I feel like I was always loved with lots of conditions, and I now help the people that love me unconditionally through my good times and my bad times as I grow as a human, you know?
And I think that's a great lesson, and a great thing for us to talk about out loud, is that, you know, giving to people who aren't showing up for you is like you not showing up for yourself. That's a form of self-betrayal, right? So
it's for sure. Yeah.
Recognize that we have the right to pick and choose, and we should be picking and choosing the people who show up for us. We should show up for the same, period. End of story. And those who don't, I mean, that's really sad for them. It's sad for us.
Yeah.
We have to keep on moving forward and building a better life for ourselves. And for those of us that have children like you and I, build a better life for our children. Who will then go on to build an even better life for their children, right? Because every generation that breaks away from the cycles of abuse the next generation. So we're not just in, you know, it's easy to go, okay, I just impacted my life, but that's not what happens when we're breaking these cycles of abuse. We're impacting the globe. You know, when you really think about it, the healthier the families are that come up in the future, the better our world is going to be. And that's why I think it's really important in the situations that have to end up, unfortunately, in no contact, we provide support and encourage therapy for those survivors. Because one of the things that, you know, when we go back in and we stay too long in those relationships, that continues to happen is we continue to be traumatized. We continue to not be healing and to have something else to heal from. And it's easy to forget that, because, you know, you're a grown up now. What can they be doing to you? They're still emotionally abusing and triggering you, even though you're an adult. And that's by and large the reason that no contact ends up sticking, because of all the manipulation and gaslighting and sabotage and smear campaigning that never ends. And the only way
the smear campaign, that was a new word for me.
Most of us, since we were little children, experienced the smear campaign. We didn't know that's what it was.
We didn't know that's what it was, but it was,
you
know, that Amy, the difficult one. Oh, she's in one of her moods. Oh, she's, you know, like I can tell you there's one specifically person that used to constantly poke me until I'd lose my temper. And then she'd be like, see how crazy she is? See, I told you guys, see how crazy she is? And I didn't realize what gaslighting was or what reactive abuse was until I started going to therapy. The first therapist I went to in my 30s, it took her, I brought all these emails from family members, and I was like, I need help. I'm like, I don't get along with my family. They say I think I'm better than everybody. I'm a spoiled princess. I'm exhausting to be around, and everybody thinks so in the family. So I'm going to therapy to help learn to get along better. It literally took my therapist 6 months to convince me I wasn't the problem.
Yeah.
It took, and every time I kept thinking, I leave the session, I'd be like, oh, she's so nice. She's just being nice to me.
Yeah.
I literally thought that. And then she'd read all these emails and she'd point out, like, a nice person doesn't send you. You think you're a princess, you're exhausting to be around, and no one in the family, like, or everyone in the family thinks so. And they'd be like, and then she'd be like, do you think that's a good person or a bad person? I'm like, I don't know, because what if I am? And she's like, no, you're not exhausting. And she'd be like, would you ever send that to somebody? I said, no. She's like, have you ever sent that? I'm like, no. So it took a lot of, and I feel like the more that my therapist exposed my family for who they were, because it is weird, Marnie, when you don't get along with the whole group of people, you do think you're the problem. You
Well,
do
yeah,
say,
for
am
one
I the
person.
narcissist? Like, am I the narcissist? I've asked you that. And
Yeah.
they're like, no, it's not you. So you do get like mind fucked,
Well, you
by all of
gaslight
it.
yourself. We gaslight ourselves.
Yeah, it's not you, because you're gonna think it's you.
Yeah.
You're gonna be like, okay, it is me. There's like 5 people that don't like me and they're all saying it's me, so it must be me. There's 5 of them. You know what I mean? So I don't know if there's anything you can give advice to anybody, or I don't know, but I just think that took me way too many years to figure out.
I think one of the best things that you said in there in terms of how your therapist was communicating is asking yourself, would I treat another person this way? And why not?
Mhm.
Right? And that's a really good barometer for yourself to know whether or not it's you or it's them. And
Mhm.
them sticking together, of course, you're going to question yourself. You were raised to question yourself to begin with. You were raised
Yeah.
never to leave. You were conditioned to
Mhm.
stay and keep the family secrets and be a part of the system. They don't
Mhm.
bargain on, anybody leaving the island willingly. They just don't. They're very short-sighted. They think they have this control that's so massive, they are so powerful that they cannot see in the big picture that some people are just going to go, I've had enough and I'm out. And those people that leave, the scapegoats, and I hate the word
Yep.
black sheep, that's their description. I think we are the bright, shining, glittery, super color sheep, because we're the ones who are bringing our light, out and shedding the label that they put on us, that whole black sheep. Those are their,
Yes.
not ours. We are not the black sheep. They're the ones who are, growing in the dark and hiding all these secrets and perpetrating all of this abuse, right? And they just
Mhm.
don't think for 1 second that anybody is going to be more powerful than they are. And ultimately, those of us who leave, we leave because we are more powerful than they are. And because we somewhere along the way realized that there's something better out there. And that's likely what kept us going throughout our whole childhood. So on that note, what is something that you would like to say to the listeners out there, the viewers out there? What is a thought that you would like to leave them with?
The thought is, you don't need an abusive family. An abusive family is not family. If you're sticking around because you don't want to have family, guess what? You already don't have a family. That's not what family is. I've been taken under the wing by a lot of people over the years, and that's what a real family is. A wolf creates their own pack. So you hand select people in your group. You will be invited to Thanksgivings and Christmases. We like to vacation, so we do that on the holidays a lot, and my kids love it. And they have some stuff with their other side that they do, but I think also is, don't be afraid to be alone. You can be alone. You can do it alone. Um, you don't have to have this family behind you, or you show up and no one talks to you anyways, um, just don't be afraid to be alone and do it alone, but build your support system and start healing loudly, start telling and start talking.
I love that. And you know what? I love what you're talking about in terms of, don't be afraid to do it alone. And I want to just add to that, you're already doing it alone. Now let's do it alone without being traumatized and mistreated so that we can start healing.
Yes. Yes. Yep. And boundaries are to keep people in, not keep people out. So start putting up those boundaries. I can tell you, if I take any accountability for anything, it was not putting up those boundaries most often enough, but also I was scared. I know if you say something like, because I had done some of that. Okay, mom, I'm going to come to Christmas, but no drinking and no smoking in the house. What do you think was going to happen if I said that?
Yeah.
But you can try. I mean, you can try putting up a boundary of what's acceptable or not. But also, to reiterate, boundaries are to keep people in, not to keep people out. So boundaries are healthy. Boundaries are good. I'm still working on that people pleasing and putting boundaries up or saying something in the moment. I can tell you I still struggle with, someone does you a little dirty or gives you a little, afterwards you're like, oh, I should have said this, I should have done that. And I just think be good about being proud and value yourself in the moment. Don't let yourself shine. Don't be afraid to shine and have others snuff your shine out or make you a villain because you shine too much or you're too big.
I love that. And I love that boundaries are to keep people in. And on the note of boundaries, also, when we set boundaries, it's for ourselves. It's to hold ourselves accountable for
Yeah.
how other people treat us and determine
Mhm.
how we're going to respond to those boundaries rather than trying to create things that people are going to cross anyway. We need to set boundaries
Mhm.
where, okay, if this happens, I'm out. I'm not going to betray myself. And on that note, Amy, I want to thank you so much for being a part of the
Yeah.
very first episode or series. I don't know how many I'm going to cut these into. What
Yay.
happens on But She's Your Mother. I'm going to make sure that in the notes, I put all of your links and your bio so that people know where to find you. And also they know where to find resources that will be helpful for them in their healing journey. I love all of you, my sibling survivors, and I appreciate you all so much. Thank you again, Amy.
Oh, thank you, Marnie. I loved it. It was so good.